Good morning, good evening, good night, wherever you may be watching this transmission. It is I, Mike Martins, and spare thought for those living in New Zealand. Of all the places in the Commonwealth that's been hit hard by the housing crisis, it is New Zealand. The housing affordability, the New Zealand proper. New Zealand has become a nation of renters, pretty much in the last 6 years. Now, with the economic crisis in China, and with China basically in implementing a new emperor, I guess. I don't know how that works. Emperorship in China. A lot of Chinese are fleeing or trying to get their wealth offshore into Western countries that are open for business. Well, it's led New Zealand down the path of brokenness and damage. I've been covering New Zealand for many years on my channel because I saw where things were going with the population it has and with the amount of housing stock it has availability. And this was back, I think it was back in 2015. I was talking about this. Let me see. Oh yeah, it's not on this computer. It's on another computer. But I did, I've been discussing this for a long time, but I've been discussing the shortage of housing in New Zealand and how they've basically threw in the supply versus demand, build. And then you got a new government that came into power, Jacinda Ardern, and she passed a law to New Zealand passes ban on foreign home buyers into law. In a lot of countries, that's the case. It's not, and they're calling New Zealand racist and blah blah blah. That's what they got. That's what's in the socialist toolbox. The typical socialist toolbox is you're a racist, right? But no, the New Zealand proper, the Kiwi proper is like this. Finished. Now, here's the deal with that. It's gotten so bad that there's areas where people park their cars to sleep in their cars overnight. I don't know, they're saying like 1 in 80 people are in rough position in New Zealand. That's a lot of people. I don't know if you guys know that, but that's a lot of people in homeless / shelter rough position. And then people being put up in hotels, and then the black mold, and then the Mickey Mousing of these inefficient rentals that are on the market that are crippling people with basically not being able to live a normal life because the place is just falling apart around them and needs constant repair, and the landlords are avoiding their tenants like the plague. Anyways, been seeing the patterns. And foreign investing got so bad that they had to pass a law on foreign home buyers. So this is an older article. The reason why I'm putting this in is that Western countries sold out. It's not just New Zealand, Canada, the United Kingdom, they sold out and they're competing for rich investors. I read the article for you guys a million times, the other article a million times for you guys. So, Otago Daily Times. This is from Wednesday, 23rd of October, and where I am, it's still October 22nd. So, I'm reading this from the future, guys. No, but I'm just trying to be funny, but I'm not funny. I know that. But let's get to seriousness here. Poverty crisis, new figures show demand for food and housing. Well, what do you think is going to happen when you back a good percentage of your economy on housing? And corruption in housing, corruption in banking, and all the black and dark voids, and all those applications floating around in the banks. That the banks are like, there's some lenders out there that are worried, man, is this guy going to default? I know this guy's going to default. I know this guy's going to default. If this guy defaults, it's going to bring our books down. Oh my God, their banks don't have the leverage to cover this huge default. You know, it's going to get bad. It's going to get really bad in New Zealand. Record numbers of people are asking the government for help to pay for their food and accommodation, with frontline community workers labeling the situation as a crisis. Latest figures from the Ministry of Social Development, MSD, show the amount of money being paid to motels two-house homeless has more than doubled compared to the same time last year. So in New Zealand, they're actually putting people up in hotels and motels and just wherever is available to help family. And we're talking about a mother with 3 kids. We're talking about a husband and a wife with 2 kids. And they're sleeping rough. They're on the street. So the government gets the next best thing is let's put them up in a room. But it's been going on for so long now. And then they had the whole Kiwi build that was announced by Phil Tyford, the housing minister for New Zealand. And that didn't work out. I think they built 13 homes of the 100,000 homes are going to, I think it was 100,000. Was it 10,000? I think it was 100,000 homes Kiwi built. But this is the mistake. This is the mistake. 1 in 3 homes are empty in New Zealand, vacant, owned by foreign investors. That's your first problem. 2, this creates an oversupply on the market when everyone rushes to the market to sell at the same time. Especially if all the foreign investors decide to flip their investments because they want their money now in New Zealand. Like they don't want real estate, but they want liquid in New Zealand to go there and spend on vacation or spend and use it there. So it's going to be a very interesting change of times in the next, it's springtime right now. So I'm following Auckland and Welland and all the different areas there, Christchurch, all the different parts of New Zealand, trying to see the selling patterns. And everything looks like it's not going anywhere. It's stagnant. The last thing you want is a Japan stagnation effect, where nothing goes up or down, nothing moves, wages are pretty much the same, and nothing is going anywhere. The last thing you want is that with $600 to $800 or $1 million homes. That's the last thing. See, in Japan, at least, you could still buy a decent one-bedroom condo in Tokyo for about $100,000. So outside of Tokyo, $55,000. So at least in Japan, it's stagnant, but it's still in an area where people could still afford if they want to buy or rent or whatever, they could still get around. Unfortunately, this is not the case. In New Zealand, they're stuck at the average home in Auckland starts at about $660, up until $1.2 million for a 3-bedroom, like nothing spectacular. You know, so my friends watching this in the United States don't think it's about, oh, yeah, Mike, those are mansions and stuff. No. Those are like just regular family trailer type homes. That's nothing special. Latest figures from the Ministry of Social Development show the amount of money being paid to motels and two-house homeless has more than doubled compared to the same time last year. That translates to 29,000 emergency housing grants being given out in 3 months. What? So the 29,000 emergency housing grants being given out in the 3 months of September. In the 3 months to September, sorry. So basically, I guess an emergency housing grant is like a certificate you get from the shelter or something, where if there's no, or something, or the city, and you go to a hotel, you check in with your family, you show them the thing, they take the voucher, they stamp it, and they, wow. The grants, which cover motel stays for those with nowhere else to go, were at $15,000 at the same time last year. The average value for each grant has risen from $1,100 to $1,400. More than $41 million has been spent over the quarter, up to $15 million in September 2018. Social Development Minister Carmel said the increase showed government was providing assistance to those who need it, and blamed the previous government for failing to create more homes for New Zealanders. You see, the problem is, it's not that. New Zealand had a limited supply of housing. New Zealand opened its doors for business. New Zealand sold itself out to the richest and highest bidders. Then you have all these bidding wars on New Zealand houses. 10 years ago, there wasn't a single bidding war. 10 years ago, you put your house in the market in Auckland, you wait 3 months, and then you lower the price. And then someone comes and sees it and then sends an inspector and says, we need this and this. Do you want to knock that off the price and I'll fix it? Or do you want to fix it and then sell me the house? Nowadays, before, after 2015, 16, 17, and up to 18, it was an absolute disaster there. They had bidding wars, they had this, and the New Zealand proper, the Kiwi proper could not compete with foreign money. See, you go to Mexico and try and buy a house. You know what they're going to do to you if you're not Mexican? They'll laugh at you like they did to me. I tried to buy a house in 2 states in Mexico, 2 different states. They laughed at me. I have a lawyer in Mexico, in Cuernavaca. He looked at the papers and said, Mike, look, you can't own in Mexico, period. You are a foreigner. They don't sell to foreigners. You could lease. Oh, Mike, there's so many expats living in Mexico. What are you talking? Check the fine print and see if you own it. I'll give you my lawyer's phone number. He speaks a little bit of English, but he could, you know. The emergency housing special needs grants the placement of people into motels the way in which we see it now actually started under the previous government. So, of course, they're always going to blame the previous administration. If there has been a robust plan to respend the housing crisis, wouldn't be in this predicament. She said the government was working as quickly as it could to build housing stock, but in the meantime would be using motels to house for those in need. Wow. It's not just accommodation that people are struggling with. Figures paint a picture of soaring demand for the basics. Just the basics, guys. Food. Basic necessity to sustain life on Earth is food. So is air, but still. The number of hardship assistance grants handed out has climbed more than 570,000 over September quarter at the cost of $167 million. This is a really big deal, guys. This is a huge deal. Included in that emergency food grants with 26 million have been given out, up to more than 90% the same time last year. Auckland Action Against Poverty coordinator Ricardo Mendes March said things were desperate. We're reaching record levels of food poverty in Aotearoa and is reaching a crisis level. Mr. Menendez March said the high need for hardship assistance showed the government had not followed through with its claims that it would run the country with kindness. But the thing is, people need good average paying jobs so they could just pick and choose what home they want. Even if that was the case, like in Canada, you see in Canada, people have average paying jobs. It doesn't pay a lot, but average paying jobs, they can't get into the housing market even with 5 people with an average paying job here. So, and if in San Francisco, you need like 13 people to get into an average. In Sydney, you need 22 people, average paying people, to buy a house. You know what I'm saying? Toronto's like 17. What we've got at the moment is a system that's not working. It's putting massive pressure on households and MSD staff, and if government wants to take a kind approach, they could just raise the benefits level. I don't think it's about raising benefits level. I think it's about creating actual Kiwi jobs. Kiwi proper, right? Or buy locally made. Okay, I'm going to buy a can opener. Do I buy one made in New Zealand or do I buy one made in China? I got one made in China at my shop. It broke after twice the use. I would gladly pay $45 for a can opener made in New Zealand that I don't have to buy 6 times over and cost me $100. But Mr. Soploni said was clear that it wouldn't be happening. Food grants are up in places where housing costs are high, or there are housing demands. So we've got to address the housing issues, and this government's working hard to do that. Raising benefits on its own without addressing cost pressure wouldn't achieve what some people are implying it might. No, they need to set up, basically go back to post-World War II and kind of start from dirt all over again. The government needs to start a program where maybe New Zealand proper start handing out land, bits of land. Here's a bit of land, live in a cog for a while. When you're ready, and get a job, then, we'll put you on the postal, get your mail to you, get an address so you think you get a normal paying, then start buying some material, like start over, maybe a bit of land in the backyard, start growing off the land. It's going to have to maybe be like that. It's going to have to become like that. Government has all this crown land and all this crap, right? It's in the Commonwealth. Free up some of that land and start giving plots out. Start staking out plots to families that would work the land. even sleep in their car for 5-6 months of the year until they have enough. That's how it works, and that's how it worked. It's starting from dirt and working your way up to the top. There's a lot that could be done. Lots of vacant spaces, setting up tent cities and giving out free food all the time. It won't solve this problem. This problem will not be solved. There's a lot of people that are under productive, and a lot of people that want to be more productive. I think 1 out of 2 people in this situation are super energetic and super productive and super want to get their hands dirty and super want to do something for their lives so they could give something down the line or lay something down the line for the next of kin or the next generation. I think that's what's going to have to happen. It's back to dirt, back to basics, I think. The people that are eager, how North America, Canada, the Dominion of Canada, when they were giving out free land to people to come and farm it, because they had no choice. Because back then, land meant food. Land meant we got fed. Land meant we had prosperity. Now, land is business, commodities. It's no longer prosperity and food. And that's the scary part. Let me know if there's a way you guys could. New Zealand, very limited land. Very limited housing stock. New Zealand's a nation of renters. And if you're in New Zealand, please share this video. Get this out there. I love you guys. Big hug. Let me know what you guys think. How can we solve this? Why hasn't it been solved? How many governments need to come through until, the government ruins everything. So just how can communities get together and say, let's be independent and start doing our own thing and working together, Let me know. Comment below. Thanks for watching.